Hola clase. This is a very big deal. This is big boy, big girl Spanish stuff, and we are learning it today. We are talking about double, usually object pronouns. It can sometimes be a reflexive pronoun in the mix, so that's why I have object in parentheses. So it's when we use both a direct and an indirect object pronoun, or a direct and a reflexive pronoun together in the same sentence. It really advances your level of Spanish. So write that down nice and bold as your heading. There are rules to this. Rule number 1, choose and use your pronouns as usual. You guys already know how to do this. Please put this information in a nice box, just like mine is, as you see here. You guys know that your indirect object pronouns are found by asking to, for, sometimes from whom. Is something being done? And remember, they're different from other pronouns. Usually you take out the noun and replace it with a pronoun, but for indirect object pronouns, it can go with it in a sentence. So if something is happening to, for, sometimes from someone, you must have an IOP. Your IOP choices are mete, le, nosos, lace, like in this sentence. The banker lends money to Juan. Even though I have to Juan over here, I absolutely must have lay. Why do I have it where I do? Because it's in front of the conjugated verb. So you might have an indirect object pronoun with a direct object pronoun in the same sentence. And to find if you have a direct object, you ask who or what is being verbed. And these do, in fact, replace the noun. So you take out the noun and replace it with me, te, lower, la, nos, os, los, or las, depending on what you're saying. Like in the sentence, Dad always cuts what is being cut or verbed. The grass, if you replace it with lo, you're now saying Dad cuts it referring to grass, on Mondays. I'm about to move on, so if you're not done writing down everything on this screen, press pause and move on when you're ready. So we might use an indirect object pronoun with a direct object pronoun. That's mostly what we're going to be focusing on this unit, but you might use a reflexive pronoun with a direct object pronoun. You do not have to rewrite this. We already have that. But now in a nice box again, include what reflexive pronouns are. You know that we use reflexive pronouns with reflexive verbs and that they match the subject. Like in levantarse, which means to get up. So if I want to say I get up at 6, I put me in front of the yo form of the verb. Yo me levanto a las 6. And you might use them with the direct object pronoun. Didn't you just write this down on the previous box? Yes, you did. It's not going to hurt you. It will only help you to write it again. When you write things down, you're more likely to remember them effortlessly. Okay, so if you're not done with this yet, go ahead and press pause. I am moving on now. So after you step 1, choose and use your pronouns as usual. Step 2 is same pronoun placement rules apply. What are your pronoun placement rules? Well, we're going to write them down right here, and you already know them, but pronoun placement. Pronouns can be placed, 1, before a conjugated verb, 2, before a negative command. Remember, we haven't really talked about commands yet, but we'll get to them in 2b. Or you can attach them at the end of an infinitive, present participle, or an affirmative command. It all depends on what type of a verb you're using in your sentence. So, what do these stars stand for? Well, as you guys already know, if you attach a pronoun to a present participle, ando, yendo, or yendo, or to an affirmative command, you must place an accent on the penultimate syllable, not counting the pronoun. What does penultimate mean? Second to last. So please write this down nicely and neatly in your notes, making rule number 2 nice and noticeable. And press pause. I'm moving on. What is step 3? Okay, so we've already written this stuff down. So step 1, choose, use your pronouns as usual. Same pronoun placement rules apply. Again, you do not have to rewrite this information down. It's just there for reference. New information. So we knew about number 1. We've already know about number 2. This is new information. If you're using 2 pronouns in the same sentence as opposed to 1 pronoun, some new things apply. keep the happy couple together. So if you have two pronouns, don't put one on one side of the sentence and one on the other side of the sentence. They're in love, keep them together. They will go as two separate words in front of a verb, so there'd be a space in between them if you have your verb, conjugated or negative command right here, or all together with the verb when they're attached at the end of an infinitive, present participle, or affirmative command. But you keep them together, and they have a specific order. The direct object pronoun is the gentleman. What do gentlemen do? Well, they always open the doors for ladies and let them go first. So the DOP is the gentleman, which means that he always goes second, letting the ladies, which are the reflexive pronouns and the indirect object pronouns, go first. You might be in information overload right now, and I totally understand. If you don't understand something, it's just important that you guys write this information down and lay down the groundwork so that when we come to class we can work on everything together. If you're not done writing this down yet, press pause. I'm moving on to step number 5. Step 5. All right, 1, choose and use your pronouns as usual. Same pronoun placement rules apply. We just learned some new information. Keep the happy couple together. The DOP is the gentleman, letting the ladies go first. So, step 5. We've already written this down. Don't write that down. But step 5, nice and noticeable. Additional accent rules apply. You guys already know one accent rule, that if you attach a pronoun to the end of a present participle or a command, you need an accent on the penultimate syllable, not counting the pronoun. So what new accent rules apply? If you're attaching two pronouns, not just one, to an infinitive, you now need an accent on the infinitive, or the infinitive ending, which means that letter A in AR, the E in ER, and the I in IR. So remember, if you're just attaching one pronoun to an infinitive, no accent, because let me go back to this screen right here. Look, before, when we were using one pronoun, this one does not have a star. So if you just have one pronoun attached to the end of an infinitive, no accent. But as this rule is telling us, you now need an accent on the infinitive ending if you attach two pronouns. So go ahead and please skip a line and then write down these two example sentences in English. I'm going to make the beds for you. I'm going to make them for you. And we will skip a line after that and we'll fill in the Spanish here to show you examples of how we need an accent when you attach two to an infinitive, and skip one more line before you write down the next additional accent rule. If you're attaching, again, two pronouns to a one-syllable command, I know you guys don't know much about commands yet, but we're going to in Spanish 2B, you now need an accent on the command. In the past, if it was one syllable, you don't need an accent, but if it's two pronouns that you're attaching, you now do. And I'll show you this again in class. Skip a line, write these example sentences, make the beds for me, make them for me. Skip another blank line so that we can fill in the Spanish together, and then leave room after that. Please press pause now if you're not done. I'm going to move on. Rule number 6, don't be a lay-low. What does that mean? Well, if you're following all the rules from before, really quickly, let me just demonstrate. You do not have to write down what I'm about to write in this space here. It's just for demonstration. So like I was saying, if you follow all of our rules from before, you might end up with putting lay or lace in front of low or las, because the DOP is a gentleman, so he goes second. And you can't do that. You can't have two pronouns in a row starting with the letter L. So if you are saying that someone or something is doing it for him, we're going to have to change it up. Or someone is making them for you guys, we have to change it up because we can't have lay or lace going in front of lo, la, los, or las. So you can't end up with these combinations. So what do? You have to change the lay or lace to say in front of a direct object pronoun that starts with the letter L. I'll show you what that means in a second, but I just want to remind you to tell you that you guys don't have to write down this sloppy mess that I'm making right here. You can, of course, rewrite the charts, but it's a little bit sloppy. So that's just for the sake of demonstration. All right. So you must change the lay or lace to say in front of a direct object pronoun that starts with L. What does that mean? I can may low, I can nos los, but I can't lay in front of these or lace in front of these. And as this says right here, you must change the lay or lace to say. Lay or lace changes to say if I'm putting them in front of low or la, los, or las. Again, you don't have to write down this one either. It is just for the sake of demonstration. Press pause if you are not ready to move on, and I'm going to continue with one last screen. I know these notes are long. I appreciate you guys sticking with it. Okay, it's very important to write all this stuff down so you can understand. Moving on. There is a suggested process for reading and writing or rewriting sentences with double object pronouns. We're really focusing on the reading, but you can't understand how to read a sentence if you can't also write it. So here are the steps. Find your subject and your verb phrase. I'm going to go through this quickly and then you guys can just pause and get all the information down. Find your direct object pronoun, which you guys know you find by asking who or what is being verbed. And find your indirect object. And you guys know this information as well. You ask to, for, from whom. Sometimes you use a reflexive pronoun here as well with reflexive verbs. So you find all of those things. To write a sentence or rewrite it, here's what you do. You state your subject and conjugate your verb for the subject. I have subject in parentheses because you guys know you can sometimes leave a subject out if it's already clear. Then select your indirect object pronouns and your direct object pronouns by asking yourselves these questions and put the happy couple in order and together in relationship to the type of a verb you have. And you should ask yourself, is there more than one acceptable place to put it? Do I have more than one type of verb? Do I need any accents? And then, if you want to, you can add indirect object pronoun clarification or emphasis, of course starting with a. Again, if you're on information overload, I understand, but please just write this information down and we'll use it in class. And do please include all of the underlines and the circles that I have, except not on the one on reading, but anything that I've underlined, I need you to underline. Whatever I've circled, you need to circle. Whatever box you need to box, because it's important to our organization of our thoughts. Okay, on this next screen here, we are going to be writing down some examples we're going to be practicing together in class and that you guys should give some thought to before class. And let me show you. You do not have to write this information here, but I need you to write number 1, this question, and so on and so forth. In between each one of these, you need to skip 3 blank lines. So write this, 3 blank lines. This, 3 blank lines. This, 3 blank lines, so on and so forth, so that we have room to have nice, neat notes to refer back to. All right, guys, I really appreciate your patience and your time and the effort you are taking to take down these notes. It makes everything a whole lot easier, and it gives us more time to practice together in class to make sure that you understand this more difficult concept. Okay, guys, thank you very much. Ciao.